In the ancient valley of Eller, two great armies faced each other, poised for a battle that would echo through the ages. On one side stood the Israelites, the army of the living God, their hearts heavy with fear. On the other, the mighty Philistines, confident and proud. Every morning and every evening, a shadow fell over the Israelite camp, a shadow cast by a single man. His name was Goliath. He wasn't just a man, he was a giant, towering over everyone else, his bronze armor gleaming like a dragon's scales under the sun. His voice was like thunder as he bellowed his challenge across the valley. "Why do you come out and line up for battle? I am a Philistine, and you are servants of Saul. Choose one man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us." For 40 days, this challenge rang out, and for 40 days, fear was the only answer from the Israelite side. The soldiers, even the bravest among them, trembled. King Saul himself, a tall and commanding figure, could find no champion to face this monstrous warrior. The army's spirit was broken, their hope dwindling with each passing day is stormy. Dark clouds seemed to gather permanently over their camp. Meanwhile, far from the front lines, in the peaceful fields near Bethlehem, a young shepherd boy named David was tending his father's flock. His world was one of green pastures, gentle streams, and the quiet watchfulness of a shepherd. He knew the dangers of the wild, the lion and the bear that might prey on his sheep, but he also knew a deeper truth. He knew the presence of God, a constant companion and protector in the lonely hills. He wasn't a soldier. His hands were skilled with a shepherd's staff and a simple sling, not a sword and shield. One day, David's father, Jesse, called for him. "Take this roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread to your brothers in the army camp," he said, "and see how they are doing." With a heart full of concern for his brothers and obedience to his father, David rose early the next morning, left the flock with another shepherd, and set off on his journey. When David arrived at the camp, he was met with a scene of chaos and dread. Just as he was greeting his brothers, the ground seemed to shake. Goliath stepped forward once more, issuing his defiant roar. David watched in disbelief as the Israelite soldiers, his own people, scrambled back in terror. He turned to the men standing near him, his young face a mixture of confusion and righteous anger. "What will be done for the man who defeats this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" His oldest brother, Eliab, overheard him and burned with anger. "Why have you come down here? With whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness? I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You came down only to watch the battle." But David's spirit was not so easily quenched. He wasn't there out of idle curiosity. A fire had been lit in his heart. His words, full of youthful zeal and unwavering faith, traveled through the camp until they reached the ears of King Saul. The king sent for the boy. When David stood before him, Saul saw not a warrior, but a boy, handsome and ready. "You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him," Saul said, his voice heavy with weary experience. "You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." David's reply was calm and steady, filled with a quiet confidence that came not from himself, but from a source far greater. "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." Saul looked at the young shepherd, at the unshakable faith shining in his eyes. A flicker of hope ignited in the king's heart. "Go," Saul said, and may the Lord be with you." Then Saul dressed David in his own tunic. He put a coat of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head. David fastened on his sword over the tunic and tried walking round, but he was not used to them. "I cannot go in these," he said to Saul, "because I am not used to them." And so he took them off. He would not fight this battle in another man's armor or with another man's strength. Instead, he walked to the nearby stream. He knelt down and carefully chose 5 smooth stones, feeling each one, placing them into the shepherd's bag at his side. With his staff in one hand and his sling in the other, he began to walk across the valley floor, stepping out of the shadows of the Israelite camp and into the open space that separated the two armies. A divine light seemed to glow softly around him, a stark contrast to the ominous sky that loomed behind his opponent. Goliath looked down and saw the approaching boy. He laughed, a deep, contemptuous sound that rolled across the valley. "Am I a dog, that you come at me with sticks?" he bellowed. "Come closer, and I'll show you what happens to those who challenge me. Your end will be a warning tool." The giant cursed David by his gods, his voice dripping with scorn for this small, unassuming challenger. But David did not flinch. He lifted his head, his voice clear and ringing with a power that stunned the onlookers. It was not the voice of a boy, but the voice of faith itself. "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. Today the Lord will give me victory over you, not by sword, but by faith. This very day I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there's a God in Israel. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands." As Goliath moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he placed it in his sling. He began to swing it, faster and faster, a blur of motion, the airward with purpose. Then he let it fly. The stone shot through the air like an arrow, guided by an unseen hand. It struck the giant squarely on the forehead, sinking deep into his skull. For a moment, there was a stunned silence. The giant stopped. He swayed. Then, with a deafening crash of armor and bone, Goliath fell face down on the ground. The great shadow that had terrorized Israel for 40 days was gone. The impossible had happened. A collective gasp rose from both armies. The Philistines stared in disbelief, their champion defeated by a boy with a stone. Panic erupted in their ranks. They turned and fled in terror. The Israelites, their fear replaced by a sudden surge of triumphant courage, let out a mighty roar and charged after them, pursuing them for miles. David stood quietly over the fallen giant, the shepherd boy who had become a hero. He hadn't needed a king's armor or a soldier's sword. He had faced his giant with what he had, a sling, 5 smooth stones, and an unshakable faith in his God. The battle was never about his own strength, but about God's power made perfect in his weakness. As the sun began to set, it bathed the valley in a warm, peaceful light. The storm clouds had vanished. The victory was complete. And the world was reminded of a timeless truth, that courage is not the absence of fear, but faith in the face of it. It's a lesson that tells us that no matter how big the giants we face in our own lives may seem, be they doubt, fear, or impossible challenges, with God, even the smallest among us can stand tall and win the battle. Thank you so much for watching this story with us. If it touched your heart, please give this video a like and consider subscribing to our channel for more stories of faith and courage. Until next time, may you have the strength to face your giants.